Giant has just announced the launch of their brand new Giant TCR. But by looking at this picture, you probably couldn't tell. That's because it looks so similar to the older style model that the only difference really from picture side by side is the integrated cable. Now, Giant has come out and said that they've changed up their carbon layups and how they make the bicycles, and there are some subtle other changes to the bicycle to make it different from the previous year. But this has to be one of the most, not, I wouldn't say disappointing because like the bicycle is still really good, but just a very soft launch. It's kind of expected. Everyone was kind of saying, hey, if Giant TCR makes integrated cables, it'd be great. But a lot of times I covered Giant TCR videos on my channel. Majority of the comments always were, I love the exposed cables, it's easy for home maintenance, and I love the price point of bicycles. Now, Giant has still kept around their really competitive price points, which we'll talk about just in a second. But when you look at these bicycles side by side, here is the previous generation of the Giant TCR. What the heck? Get out of here. Here's the previous generation of the Giant TCR. Exposed cables. Image 1. Image 2. Image 1. Image 2. Image 1. Image 2. It's literally the same thing. Insert office meme Pam photo. It's literally the same thing. There are some subtle differences. Like you said, you can see a little bit more rear stays. They increased the tire size. You can go up to a 700 by 33 instead of a 700 by 32. They increased the aerodynamics as well. They definitely made this chunk of the head tube a little bit wider. The seat stays as well a little bit wider as well compared to last year's. But the main reason they said that the bicycle is much lighter and much stiffer because of this new carbon layup they did and the way they put the frame together. But really, I think a lot of that weight and that frame, or that weight and that ride feel and that stiffness feel, comes from these brand new wheels they just launched that are 1,250 grams. So these are crazy light wheels, which I think will definitely put the bicycle at that UCI weight limit of 6.8. But it kind of doesn't even make sense because they literally have the Giant Propel. That's an aero bicycle that's 6.8 kilos that you can just run a deeper dish wheel. So it's a weird bicycle launch. It really, really is. But let's go ahead and get into this and talk about, does this bicycle still have a place in the Giant lineup with the Defy and the Propel? You let me know what you think. So starting off, before I just go into full-on aesthetics-wise bashing, they say that the ride feel is completely different. They say that it's lighter. They say the stiffness to weight ratio on this bicycle is way more responsive as well. I don't know. I haven't ridden it yet, so it will have to be something that comes later on. But just in terms of pure aesthetics, from one generation to the next, it was a very, very soft launch. Now, I'm a fan of integration cables. I like the look of it. I think the bicycle looks better as is. But you could have changed up something. You could have done maybe a little bit more on there. I mean, the wheels are really the biggest part of the bicycle. And to get these wheels on this bike, I think it's a nice plus. These are crazy lightweight wheels for a 40 depth wheel. But yeah, I was kind of in shock when they just released it to be exactly the same. I think the bike obviously is still going to do well. There's a ton of TCR fanboys out there. There are a ton of a following of here, enthusiasts. They definitely have a kind of a cult following. And whoever has a TCR will probably upgrade to it. But what a lot of people did like was the exposed cables because it was so easy to work on at home. But it seems to be that the integrated cables on here are tucked underneath the stems, so it should be pretty still easy adjustment to go ahead and lower spacers or change out stems or whatever it might be on there. But what TCR does so well and what Giant does so well is the price points. I will say that is that their price point for this bicycle with a full Dura-Ace lineup on there and crazy stupid light wheels is $12,500, whereas the whole other marketplace is out there for $14,000, $15,000, $16,000. So they still do give a budget price point to consumers, and Giant is, I will say, industry leading in terms of price point and also frame design. They do make a lot of other companies' frames, if people didn't know that. So I believe when they say that they did change the carbon fiber layup on here and they did change the frame layup on here as well to go ahead and make it a stiffer to weight ratio. But again, that's going to be what we have to figure out later on in the video. Now it seems that they also followed suit with price point on there. And they went ahead and went completely competitive, and they put a 105 Di2 bicycle out there with some carbon fiber wheels, and they kept the integrated cables on here for $5,500. This 105 Di2 package seems to be a price point of $5,500 across the board with companies like Trek, with now Giant, and also Cannondale out there having a really competitive bicycle out there for that price point. It seems that there's going to be starting to have a market correction where those prices are going down, and this seems to be the norm. But I would love to see Giant come out with like just a separated seat post, get rid of that ISP for their top tier level, and just make a crazy light TCR in that matter. But they also have a cheaper model as well with a 105 mechanical. That's $3,200, which is pretty cheap for a carbon fiber frame, 105 12-speed mechanical, and then alloy wheels as well. Now, let's get into my confusion with this bicycle brand. And this is just my confusion on it because of the fact that I don't see a place for this bike in terms of what they have. I mean, everything now seems to be going to a do-it-all bicycle like the Tarmac SL8. You guys can call me biased, but this is really kind of a weird price point, and we'll talk about it. The Giant Propel is launched. We see a lot of these pro riders riding the Grand Tours on the Giant Propel, whether that be with a 50mm wheel, a 65, or maybe even 40 on there. So it's a do-it-all bicycle that when they came out with this bike, they said it was a 6.8 aero road bike. So they're limited to what they can do in terms of UCI weight limit. So with all this lightweight technology they just released, with all this saying their frame is lighter, the integrated cables, it's stiffer, the fork is lighter, the wheels are lighter, you're still limited to a number. And wouldn't you want a bicycle that has a better aerodynamic benefit that can still climb and still be stiff? Depending on what kind of stage you're in, you just choose a different wheel type on there. Wouldn't you want to go? Because they're still claiming that their Propel is faster on there. I don't see where a pro would be picking this bicycle. Now, unless it's just a full crazy stage hill, and maybe they want that TCR where it's smaller tube so it can accelerate better up climbs. But it's a really, really weird. Now, obviously, the TCR is a flagship bike. I don't think they'll get rid of it. But I think that in order to make these bicycles relevant again and have a 3 bicycle lineup in the industry, UCI needs to come down on weight limit rules and really make it to a point where, hey, this is going to be their crazy light dedicated climbing bike. This is going to be a 6 kilo bike and the weight limit now is 6 kilos. Then yeah, the Propel won't touch that. There will be a reason for this thing to be there. But when you have 6.8 and 6.8, I think majority of times the pro riders will probably pick this bike with a 40mm wheel or a 50mm wheel. And if it's still right around 6.8, they probably want that because they sometimes descending or high end speeds on flats, it'll make sense. But I don't know. I think that they should have done a little bit more to this bicycle to give it that wow pop. It's still going to sell. It's still going to do crazy good. These wheels are stupid light. I'm still blown away by what these are. But these right here needs to be gone. They should have done integrated cables. This could have been gone. Maybe drop seat stays to give it a change of look. I know the Propel has that kind of look to it. Drop seat stays for it. And then just make it a separate seat post. I think it would have done, like, people would have been blown away by it. It's still a great bike. It's still going to sell really well. But that's just my kind of qualms with it. I'm not even a Giant dealer. I like the brand. I like the bike. Don't let me misconstrue you there. I think their price points are really good for the industry. They really do put people in check. Other big name guys out there to go ahead and compete with them. Their product looks really nice. Everyone who has one says they love them. So it's a good looking bike. I just wish they had more. So that's just my take on the issue. If you guys agree with me, let me know that in the comment section. If you guys don't agree with me, let me know that in the comment section. What did you want to change on there? Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you guys next video.